What is up, guys? Back in today with another reaction to This Monster Wants to Eat Me, this time with episode 3. Should be a pretty fun and interesting episode today, going to the festival in which our main character, again apologies I haven't really got the names down just yet, Shiori, she is very hesitant on going there, though this yokai was very forceful. Well, I say very forceful, it felt very forceful in like trying to make her come to the festival. Yeah, she was a little bit forceful is probably not the right word, intimidating maybe. Although, does she already feel intimidated considering her kind of wants to die? Not sure. That's the thing, you've never like it's hard to understand that unless you've been through it yourself. So as someone on the outside trying to understand, it's almost impossible. But it does, like the question I'm asking here is like, would you feel fear in that moment if you actually wanted to die? Maybe you wouldn't, and I couldn't imagine that. So hard to actually talk about if I couldn't imagine it. I usually think I'm pretty good at kind of empathizing, understanding other people's point of views and feelings, but in circumstances like that, I don't think there is any way I can like wrap my head around it. But yeah, again, should be a very interesting episode. Really like the redhead girl. I love her voice actress. She's been quite a promising upcoming voice actress in the past few years. She's always one of my favourite voice actresses in any show I watch when she's involved. But yeah, it's quite funny actually. I was kind of questioning if this monster wants her at her lowest or her highest in terms of, does she want to make her live again so she's tasty, or does she want her to experience absolute despair so she's tasty? Which one's more tasty? Probably the one full of life, you'd think. So it's like you could. I did interpret it in two ways last week, didn't I? She could take her here to re-experience stress and think about the past, or what I think might be happening here, she's trying to get her to kind of overcome some things by having her directly kind of address things she can't face. Gonna put a bit of seasoning on you, a bit of salt and pepper, a bit of oregano. Is that a slushy? Probably would have preferred the slushy myself. I say this every time I see these. These are so overrated. They look delicious, especially as a kid. You're like, oh my god, it's an apple, but it's all candy. No, it's just the outer layers candy. The rest is just a fucking cheap apple. Like not even like a nice apple. They get like the cheapest ones. Well, that was my experience anyway. I think she's doing that on purpose, isn't she? She kind of alluded to this in the last few episodes. She's been kind of dragging her along like this, as well as the redhead girl's been kind of metaphorically dragging her along. Metaphor is probably not the right word, but keeping her like living, if you know what I'm saying. Like, looks like she can't quite face it just yet. Might have been a step too far too early. Well, they were stolen away from me. So what happened here? There's a lot of blood there. Like, what can we interpret happened here? Like, it's very weird. You guys know I've seen a lot of horror movies. I've seen a lot of situations and things like this. Like, something's burning. I'd assume it's their house. But if it's their house, how do you end up with this much blood all over you? Perhaps the house burnt down after everybody was like killed or something. Like, yeah, it's really, again, I love kind of things like this where it's like you see part of it. It's a bit like Memento in a sense, not very much that similar, but it's the reason I love the movie Memento, and I've watched it countless times. It's where you get like pieces of the events in Memento, it's in like reverse order, and it's just like an interesting structure. There's a little taste of that here. It's like you give us a piece of it, but not the full picture, and it's really interesting because you're like, how does this and that, even though they're in the same scene, add up? And you know it probably will make sense, but it's like, yeah, I'm like, is that the sea? Is that a boat then? Because I was wondering, is that like dirt? I would assume that like the where they lived wouldn't just be like dirt. So I think that's the sea. Something's on fire on the sea, which makes even more sense with the whole drowning kind of analogy stuff going on. We've seen things of her like in water, feeling drowned and struggling to breathe. So that and we saw in that first episode, obviously she was looking at the water a certain way. This yokai and the yokai from the first episode seemed to appear from the water as well, on a water based. So there's a lot of water in this. A bit of a Jaws type deal here, perhaps. Obviously not, but yeah, there's something on fire in the water here. Oh, okay. So I think I'm piecing it together. Probably their car. They probably okay. I'm glad I took a minute here because yeah, I think I get it now. As I said, it's kind of hard to actually like see what that is, but I think it's their car that's on fire, and that explains why she's so bloody as well. They probably hit like a tree or another car or something. Funny enough, I think I mentioned this, didn't I? I was in a car accident when I was younger, and yeah, it was quite bloody. Not for me, but it was a bike accident with a motorist, and we were in a car, and there was a lot of blood when I got out of the car, and it was. I just remember that. Like that's the only thing I remember from that, is that I got out of the car and I saw loads of blood on the floor. So yeah, I know they can be quite bloody. So yeah, it looks like there was a car accident. Okay, and her family, probably still in that car, ended up in the water. Sounds horrible to say this, but hopefully died before they entered the water, because you'd hate to be in that much pain and also then drown on top of it. Not that there's really a better the two, but yeah. So yeah, car accident, ended up in the water. She ended up bloody as hell. Whether that's her blood or not, who knows? Probably some of her families as well as hers. So yeah, pretty fucked up. Okay. Oh yeah, I mentioned Jaws earlier. Made a whole generation of people terrified of the water. Imagine actually going through something like this. I would be nowhere near it. But yeah, Shiori actually feels the allure of it. She was almost dragged in herself, as alongside her family. Again, I really like that. It would literally be like her joining her family, the way she was looking at the water in that first episode. I just really like shows like this that it doesn't have to like spell out a lot of stuff. You can like interpret things like that yourself. Might not even be correct in saying that, but that's just like what I get. People probably get other stuff that they kind of catch on to as well that I can't see from my point of view. So really no. Well, yeah, it's she's going against what you actually wanted. Funnily enough, the end goal is what you want, but the process to get there is entirely not what you want. It's very ironic, that isn't it? The hell was that? Oh shit! Fuck is that thing? Oh, this is Shiori. Sorry. Again, you guys know I'm terrible with the name. I bring this up a lot, but I used to have a girlfriend with different coloured eyes like that. I always thought it was really attractive. Lovely. Sorry, I do just. Sorry to pause again so quick. I need to stop apologising, but yeah, I'm going to pause again so quickly. I just want to get my head around that of the whole point of the end. Like, I wonder if there is something being said there, and that the fact that the end, where this ends, is her being eaten by this monster. Yet at that time, she will want to live the most that she has ever wanted to live since the loss of her family. You'd think. I wonder if there is some kind of thing there of like I mentioned before about the kind of survival instinct kind of coming in. I wonder if there is that thing of actually taking the journey to die, wanting to die so much, which she does want to do, but obviously this journey that she's about to go on is going to be the opposite of that. If you take the journey to want to die, you end up finding something worth at the end. You maybe find something worth living for. Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of talking nonsense, but put a few of my thoughts out there. Apologies. I feel like there is something more to that, though. If you know what I'm saying, it's like it's a bit ironic that this is the way it's going on. Like there must, yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Again, it probably just sound like absolute nonsense right there, but yeah. Hmm. Why is like that is one big question I have. Why is it only there must be other depressed people around here. It's not like this whole city or village or whatever is like she's the only depressed person ever. And if it is the case where they're most tasty, if they want to live the most, why is nobody else getting attacked or anything? That is a question I do have. I would like the neck like that. Valid question. Probably a quite unemotional question. You probably wouldn't want to ask. You probably wouldn't want to ask someone this in real life, but very direct. That's quite an analogy. It's quite a disgusting image in my head. Yeah. So what's so why are you so attracted to this rotting whale then? There's some like prime steak everywhere, right? Perhaps it's the case that she's like A5 Wagyu or whatever, but she is just like she's got a hard coating of rot surrounding her. Alluring. That looks nasty. Trucken, of course. So that is mostly her blood then. Jesus. I gotta say, I don't know if I mentioned this before as well, but I almost had a very similar experience. I mentioned earlier about a car crash I had when I was, I think it was my first or second year of high school. I remember my dad would pick me up. It would be, I think, during his lunch break at work. He'd go pick us up, and then take us back to his work so he could continue his shift, and we'd chill in the car for like an hour or two. And one day I was just curious. I was like, "What does this thing do?" And I think I'm not no expert on cars. I don't drive, probably because I have had quite a few bad experiences. That's probably why I don't drive. Thinking about it, but yeah, I think it's the clutch. I put the long kind of thing where you click it down and it stops the car rolling back. I clicked that down and we were down a hill, and the place where he was working at had like a river at the bottom. Luckily, we did start rolling down the hill, and that could have ended terribly. But luckily, there was a metal fence just a few meters. But yeah, looking back at that, that could have so easily been a situation where me and my sister were just stuck in the back of the car and ended up in a river. I fucked the best case, we fucked the car up and we survived, which would have still been like awful. But yeah, worst case, we like genuinely something horrible could have happened. Another thing is, someone in my year from high school did end up dying of drowning the year after we uh, left high school, which was kind of sad. It was at this place, me and everybody kind of it was kind of like a bit of a spot that everybody would go to like party. And then just one time, someone, I think it was one of our family members, ended up like drowning in there, and she went in to save him, and she drowned as well. So, yeah, I've got quite a few stories that surrounding death that are quite close to this series. I mean, nowhere near losing your whole family, but yeah, quite a few kind of near and pretty disastrous experiences with water. It's probably why I'm not too keen on water either, to be honest, or going out in like the ocean or anything. Why do you trauma dump on us like that? But yeah, it didn't really feel all that like scary at the time because I didn't really know what was going on. But looking back, it was like, holy crap, what an idiot I was. But I was always interested in what that done. I was like, why do they push that button down? What does that do? And I decided to do it at like the worst possible time. Like a phantom scream. Like, considering there are these creatures out there, do you reckon they were eaten? A family? Do you reckon they were eaten in the sea? Dog's going a bit crazy. I think you can't hear him. Maybe she felt herself unlucky she didn't die with them. Yeah, there's multiple ways of looking at that, isn't there? I feel like it would be much more common to not feel lucky. I have another little rant I want to go on, but I'll wait till the end of the episode. But this does remind me a bit of Clanad, and that's one of my favorite ever anime, just because how much that impacted me. And a big theme of that is the wish of your parents. Like your parents, essentially, you are their wish, you are their dream incarnate. So to snuff that out so readily, like yeah. The responsibility to do you well. Okay. I'm gonna let them kill me. What if a murderer sneaks in one night? I plan on making octopus sausages out of your fingers. This is something I could imagine. Ah, okay. So yeah. Okay. Again, very much feels like this is quite metaphorical, this blood kind of leaving, doesn't it? A bit like I like that. That's like a bit of like I like the imagery there. I wouldn't say it's that subtle, but it is like yeah, that's stains of blood on her past, kind of leaving her a little bit here, getting over a little bit of the blood that stained her from back then. That's still on her, kind of washing away a little bit right now at the very least. So it's a nice little visual kind of metaphor there, isn't it? Yeah, really good episode so far. Really good episode. Again, feels like a bit of progress has been made. It's nice. At the very least, we kind of aired everything out a little bit here. Got to understand a bit more about what happened to her family and such, which we pieced together quite decently. They've done a good job of kind of giving it to us before giving it to us, if that makes sense. I keep saying this. Oh shit! I keep saying this. This is definitely one of my favorite shows this season. Absolutely, I just love everything that's going on in this so far. I can't find a single fault for me. So does she just live on her own? Like, what's the deal here? Surely that's not legal, right? We've never seen anyone else at her house. I'm assuming she just lives by herself as what a 15, 16-year old. Maybe she's slightly older. You know. Got to get your time in. You've been sorely missed recently. Her tone does seem a little bit more cheerful, doesn't it? She's lovely. Oh, I forgot to be honest. I forgot she asked her to go as well. That must feel a bit fucking like she's cheating on you, even though they're only friends. Although it's one of those things where you should be happy for her that she got out, but it's also like, why did you want to go with me? And ultimately, the monster ended up achieving what she wanted to achieve better than she could. Finally. Not to fault this red-haired girl for a lack of effort. I love just how she's not so subtly, but just like been trying to keep her going. So I think it'd be very easy to give up on someone like this. People give up on people for a lot less, and they would not deal with a lot less than what she has to deal with to like be friends with someone and try and keep them going. So I do feel really bad for her right now, to be honest. Hell, I've given up on people for some tiny things. But that has got that. Yeah, that might be the case, but I think that will eat away at her a little bit. Yeah, I think that's like, yeah. So not just ask this, but like, what was her living situation? Does she live alone at this age? Surely not. So if she wasn't, why is she living alone now? She's lovely, lovely. I don't know about that. I still think these guys are kind of enemies. One of those things, as they said a minute ago, it's kind of a mutual partnership or whatever, where they might get along for a while, the redhead girl and Shiori here. However, by the end of things, their end goals directly oppose each other, so ultimately they will end up rivals. I found one of those in my fucking bath the other day. I'm not sure how it got there. But there was a centipede fucking trying to crawl out my bath. It kept sliding down. So I just put it on a piece of toilet roll and brought it outside. I was a bit scared because I had been bit by one of those before, trying to put them outside. So I didn't. I was trying to. I was constantly kind of like, don't bite my hand, don't bite my hand. Oh wait, has she seen that? She has. So she said earlier that normal people can't see yokai blood. I do wonder what the whole. That's another thing. It's like again watching things like Natsume Yuujin show. There's like a handful of characters in the world that can see yokai. Well, I say that there's quite a few in that show, but it's like I won't go into it. So yeah, I wonder what the parameters are to make you be able to see this. I imagine if everybody could see this, people would be freaking the fuck out. But I imagine there's some kind of, maybe you've got to be close to death. Maybe you've got to have like, I don't know, some kind of rule or something to make you be able to see stuff like this. She obviously seen this right here, so this is something I'm very interested in, to be honest with you guys. Having these two characters alone together, I'd kind of love to see how these two kind of interact with each other by themselves. But yeah, another fantastic episode there. Again, this has certainly been one of my favourite shows this season. I'm loving this so far. It's got just the right amount of like great character interactions and interesting little bits and metaphors and little details that you pick up on, and I love a mystery. Again, it reminds me a little bit of the summer Hikaru died, but a little bit less mysterious, a little bit less horrific, a little bit more focused on the kind of trauma. And I say that there was a lot of focus on the trauma of summer Hikaru died, so it's not exactly fair to say that, but there is like subtle, slight differences between the two, isn't there? But they are very similar, I'd say. I just love that kind of things, like Higurashi. Again, quite different, but I just, in a similar kind of tone. I just love that kind of like style of Japanese horror stuff. But again, I can't fault anything. There's nothing here that I'd even say is like middling. Everything is done very well, at least. And sometimes shows like that, I can say like, are not for me, but this one is like for me as well as being like good in every department. An ephemeral tie, was that? That's another word again. I'm glad I did watch Natsume Yuujincho, because that's like giving me quite a lot here. That is, I forget. I think I looked that up when I was reading Berserk as well. Ephemeral. I was reading up if it was ephemeral, or ephemeral. Fucking hell. I've said that word too many. You know when you say a word and it's just like you question what it means after you said it so much. That's what I'm kind of feeling right now. Ephemeral or ephemeral. I can't remember which one it was, but I mean that's like a dream like hazy kind of thing. I struggled to perfectly define it, but trust me, I did look it up a little while ago, and I have a decent idea, I think, of what it means. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. As I said, another fantastic episode. I knew this festival here would be eventful, and it sure was. Again, it feels like we did actually kind of accomplish and get over something a little bit there. And yeah, it was very direct. I'm not sure if this is the exact way to go about it in real life, to be honest with you, but I guess it kind of beats beating around the bush a little bit. I don't know. It's kind of like, it's a bit like the red-haired girl in that way of like not beating around the bush, not kind of stepping on eggshells and circling around the big question. She already just went straight to it and was like, so why do you want to die then? And we did get quite a bit out of that. And yeah, just some fantastic kind of character moments here. As I did say at the end there, I'm really excited to see these two interact together. I think that's going to be awesome, and I'm not sure how it's going to go. I said a minute ago, they've essentially got the same. They essentially want the same thing up until the end point. So it's like, are they going to get along? Are they, because of that end goal? Are they going to like? Are we even going to get to a point where they understand what each other wants? And yeah, it's an interesting little seed as well laid today by the redhead girl seeing the two at the festival and like, why does she not want to go with me then? That must really hurt after being for her for so long. I did say this earlier. People are very self-interested, so spending so much time, giving so much energy to someone that doesn't want to kind of continue living, it must be quite draining in a sense of like all your energy is being absorbed. Almost like a shock absorber where you're like hitting it and it's like it doesn't, weird analogy I know, but like hitting it and it just absorbs the kind of any movements and such. It would, yeah, it's just like it must be quite rough, especially that's happened. It's like, damn, all of this, all of that, and you go with some random girl that just turned up. She's obviously probably too nice to think exactly like that, but I think it would eat away at her a little bit. She's a lovely girl, that redhead girl, from what we know of her so far anyway. So again, I absolutely can't wait to see more of those two next week. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode though down in the comments. Make sure to leave a like on the video if you guys did like, and subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up to date with these weekly reactions. And I'll see you then with episode 4.